Bill Henshaw here again from the local constitutional coop from California. And this is a follow-up video on the one I just did on our real right to pro bono effective assistance of counsel. That said, excuse me a sec with the phone. But it's a major big deal because that's the only right they think we have. And we're going to take them at their word and get our defense counsel, quote unquote, to win our case without even having any arguments in their corrupt executive administrative tribunal. And all of this, by the way, is pro bono effective assistance of counsel. When you get my constitutional defense document package modestly priced, you're going to get my love letter to the American Bar Association telling them in no uncertain terms, not only do we have the right to effective assistance of counsel, but pro bono, free of charge. And you're going to provide it, or else we're going to put your ass out of business. And it makes sense to think about this. Any of you that heard any of what I've been saying in my recent videos, particularly, when you went to the mandatory public education system, I'd love to hear about it. We don't hear it because they don't want you to know it. We have creator-endowed inalienable rights in a common law judicial court that you have the right to from day one, not an executive administrative tribunal, and thus these state bar association attorneys are the only ones they recognize, so they have to provide free services. It's not our fault, that we can't, and even if we wanted to pay the fees, we can't do it. Because you're going to learn that they deal in undefined dollars. Goes back to at least HAR 192 in the 1930s, but you're also going to learn that that doesn't exist and it never did. And for example, in California, Section 6850 of the California Government Code says the money of account here is the dollar, cent, and mill, but they're not defined. So I had occasion to show up in a quote-unquote court where I got convicted of jaywalking or something, and the fine was like $175 or $200, and the judge read it into the record, and I jumped right up and said, well, if you can define dollar, I would be greatly appreciated because it's not defined there. But then I said that that section of the California Government Code was reenacted verbatim from the Political Code of 1852, at which time the definition of dollar could easily be found in the Coinage Act of 1792. 8 years later, I'm still waiting for a bill that I'm never going to get. They can't define dollar. And if they did, and it's gold and silver coin, what they're saying is, and what we use against them, no due process or equal protection bullshit here. We're saying every law in the book is null and void, non pro tunc, ab initio as a bill of attainder, the taking of property, life, or property, or freedom without judicial process. Every law, because they don't have any judicial courts. You're going to learn that one too, and I can prove that up to law review with relevant, admissible, documentary evidence. And you get in there with these kind of issues, and or you force your attorney to do it because they won't listen to us, with pro se litigants. See you later. But the attorney has to do it. That's his job. He has a sworn oath to do it that supersedes his oath to the State Bar Association. And it looks like it overcomes his irreconcilable conflicts of interest too, because if you don't know, all these damn attorneys are unregistered foreign agents of at least the City of London, if not Vatican City. But this issue is going to trump all of that, no pun intended. And we get some real representation. And now the case gets quietly thrown out, and the judge will issue a very short order dismissing the case, probably with prejudice, so they can't bring it again. And we'll take that for right now, because we know the Supreme Court knows exactly what I'm talking about here. And when those younger Trump appointees get on there, we're going to get a lot of issues decided in our favor. And the great news is the younger justice is 48 or 50 years old. The Republicans and conservatives will control the court for the next 15 or 20 years. And accordingly, the next three presidential elections, 28, 32, and 36, might be completely irrelevant because even if Congress passes laws, which they want to do to limit the justices on the court to 18 years term of service, they can't do it with those that are already there. It would take a constitutional amendment. Send me an email, youwinnincourt@gmail.com. It just gets better and better. And boy, I wish I had learned all this all those decades ago right outside of Washington, D.C. They weren't teaching it there either. And for probably 100 years, or maybe a bit more, my mom, bless her heart, I was in school in the late 20s and early 30s, and some of this got through. And I'll tell you more about that, some amusing stories I have about my dear mom, who got me started on this. I always teased her about this. Taking me to see a movie when I was 7 years old called The Court Martial of Billy Mitchell. I'll talk more about that on another video. But I got to start, and instinctively, I knew. The age of 13, I was uncomfortable in banks. Obviously, I didn't know then what I know now, but I was. And hell, I've been now 40 years. I haven't been inside a bank, don't have an account, don't want one, don't need one. Simple. And other things when I was growing up, I was at the Gettysburg battlefield on the 100th anniversary of that event in 1963 with my dear mom and my grandfather, her dad. And that's the only time I ever saw him cry. And I realized later it was a big deal because if we win that battle of Gettysburg, the South wins the war between the states. We'll learn more about that later. Send me an email, youwinnincourt@gmail.com. And it's all exciting. And yes, I can be readily confused, with a flaming white supremacist, but that's the winning argument. And once we get back to there and we get our system back, to the Republican form of government of defined and limited powers, everybody has creator endowed rights. So now when those 8 law enforcement thugs up and shoot Jalen Walker in the back 48 times during the course of a traffic stop that the court wouldn't have had jurisdiction, and nobody gets indicted for involuntary manslaughter, all of these bastards are on death row, exactly where they belong. So it's all good news for us. So send me an email, youwinnincourt@gmail.com. Subscribe, like your videos, tell your friends, get the word out. The sooner we start bringing real issues even into their corrupt administrative tribunals, let alone our judicial court, the quicker we get to the U.S. Supreme Court, who is going to have our backs. And we can end all of this, which is a great benefit to you, your children, and your posterity. So as I said, that's it. Subscribe, like the videos, tell your friends. We'll catch up on the next video. Thank you.